This week on the TT Show, id Software's Doom 2 gives Black Myth Wukong a run for the best looking PC game in 2024. Intel is rolling out fixes for its CPU issues. AMD finds itself in its own CPU troubles. The latest on RDNA 4 and next-gen Radeon, and much, much more. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the TT Show. My name is Jak Connor. I'm a hardware editor over at Tweaktown, and today I'm joined by my co-host,
Kosta Andriadis, gaming hardware editor at Tweaktown.
Hello, my friend.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. It's always busy, but gearing up for Gamescom. There's like a bunch of game announcements coming, and there's already a few things that bleep I know about.
Interesting. I don't know about them. Oh wait, no, I do. I know about one.
Yeah,
I know about one. We can't talk about any of that. I'm personally so excited, and you got to tell me after we stop recording what you know, obviously, or I'll get you. no, I'm kidding. Yes, but Gamescom is what, a week out.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we are very excited, and obviously we will be covering a lot of the announcements. I heard Jeff Keighley, is it Jeff?
Yeah,
is it Jeff Keighley?
Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, he said that this year there's going to be a lot of announcements. So like we're going to see fresh games. It's not going to be
just updates on what we saw a few months ago.
Yeah, that was the Game Awards, right?
It was like the summer, Summer Games Fest. Yeah. To be honest, like I wouldn't mind if it's just updates. Like I'd love to see more Doom: The Dark Ages or all the other cool announcements that we got. So like I'd be happy with whatever. Yeah,
I'm always getting excited about game announcements in any form. We do have quite a thick show this week. There is a lot of little pieces of news, so we're probably going to run through some stories very quickly at some point. But before we jump into that, I wanted to run an idea past you, and this is for all your for all those hardware heads out there that love movies, that love their own NASs, their own servers, etc. It was a few weeks ago, maybe a month. We talked about that story that you did on building the ultimate home entertainment system.
Yeah.
Yes. That was an epic build, and it did take you a long time to put it together. I was watching a recent Linus video where he was talking about Blu-rays and pretty much sticking the middle finger up to the streaming companies that are exponentially charging more per month for a service, and you do not own any of the media that is on there. Not to mention, if something is removed from one of these streaming services and it's your favorite show, there is just no way for you to access it anymore, especially with less and less Blu-rays being made of shows, or especially if the show or movie is a very old movie. So I had the idea while I was watching the it's kind of like an extension of your ultimate home entertainment system, is an article detailing the process of ripping 750 Blu-ray movies into some form of network attached storage. Because I was thinking, I'm like, Wade, my best friend, is a movie buff, and he's literally got 750 Blu-ray movies in various qualities.
This is exactly what I've done. Like I've ripped.
Did you rip on that as well?
I've ripped all Blu-rays. I've been following so Star Wars, right? Like as a kid, like a lot of 80s kids, like I loved Star Wars, right? So like and I've always been loved movies, and I loved physical collections and like owning the movies and stuff like that. So Star Wars, I have a copy. My first copy is like the original, like they released on VHS, like the pre-special edition versions. I've also got the special edition versions on VHS as well. I've got the official DVDs, and I've got the Blu-ray trilogy as well. So I've got I've bought like Star Wars like multiple times. So, part of like going digital is the ease of access, right? The reason why people love streaming is because you fire up Netflix and you go press play. That's it. Like that's what you want, right? It's like an app on your TV. That's one of the good things about smart TVs. And one of the good things about Plex is that it brings that to your own collection.
Well,
but
you
it has
have
to
your
be
own Netflix.
has to be digital, right? So how do you go about it? Like, do you then you've got like this wall of Blu-ray discs, and I've got like a bunch of like 4K Blu-rays as well, like hundreds of DVDs. I even bought VHS tapes, like we had them as a kid, like the process of ripping isn't as difficult as you would think. It is like a little bit time consuming, but yeah, that's a cool idea because I've done that. And basically how you do it is the only thing that's a little bit weird now is that PCs and laptops don't actually come with Blu-ray drives anymore.
Yeah.
Like if you buy, like back in the day, like if you bought like a laptop, it had like a DVD drive and then it had a Blu-ray drive. And also like, when you had PCs, like there used to be like those disc trays of like, it had like the CD-ROM or the DVD-ROM, the Blu-ray, the BD-ROM. And then underneath that, like if you go back far enough, there was like a floppy disk, but that's all like removed now. Like, the front of the case.
Yeah, I don't even have a CD drive in my PC.
Nobody does anymore. So what you like so what you need is like you actually need to get an external Blu-ray drive, like an external one for your PC. That's about the best way to do it now. And then it's just a matter of software. So like basically what you got to do is you got to dump the whole disc. And if you're looking about just ripping just the movie, the best way to like save some immediate space is to just only rip initially when you're extracting it is just the language file that you want, because a lot of Blu-rays have like 15 different language files and they're all about all the different dubs, and they're all about like a few hundred meg each, so you can always just immediately just rip it down to the main Dolby or DTS audio that you want.
Yeah.
And then once you've got that, you basically then have to look at, that's like anywhere between 18 to 30 to sometimes up to like 40 gigs for that, just the raw movie, right? Because on Blu-ray is almost like an uncompressed MPEG-2 in 1080p. It's a very high quality
version
of it, right? So like a 1080p Blu-ray, just the raw video file. Like if you had like The Dark Knight, which is a great Blu-ray, right? That's like a reference Blu-ray because it was a lot of the scenes were shot on IMAX, so the IMAX stuff looks brilliant, right? Because you're just downsampling amazing like 70mm film to digital. But the thing is, like a 1080p, that 1080p is night and day difference to a 1080p stream on Netflix.
Yeah, because you only got like what 20 megabits per second.
That's
like,
right.
What's this?
Even less. The 1080p streams for like Netflix is like 4 or 5 megabit.
Yeah, it's gross.
Like, it's tiny. Like it is like a different codec and stuff like that. So there's better compression and things like that. But it's just, it's almost like you look at YouTube, right? YouTube 1080p is not, you wouldn't even call it the same resolution as a Blu-ray, even though it technically is, right?
No, not at all. The reason I was thinking about doing this, because I just thought it would be a crazy headline, and it would be
it's a fun project,
crazy process to literally rip 750 movies in a testament to preserving film for what it is. And I also don't want to pay. Like we have Netflix. I looked at the transaction today. It was like $24. But I remember when this was like a $15 service, and then like we've got Disney Plus, and now we've got Binge, and now we've got like what's another one? There's Hulu. So Paramount Plus, because that's like I'm pretty sure
in Australia there's like Stan as well.
Stan, it's like we're paying like what
Prime Video.
$100 a month now.
Yeah, you're basically paying what like Foxtel or cable TV prices now. Because the whole point of Netflix was like, hey, hold on a second, I can, for like $10-15, I can get what cable TV offers, more or less, right, for like a tenth of the cost. And then all these other companies saw the rise of Netflix and then basically gated their own content to their own streaming service. And that's kind of like why a lot of people are looking to digital now as a solution. Now, there is like the piracy component, right? So obviously you can download movies. You can download Blu-ray copies of movies. You can download rips of 4K Blu-rays. You can download TV rips. You can download direct feed TV rips from the Amazon servers that are pretty high quality, right? So you're bypassing the degradation that happens over streaming, like if there is like packet loss or whatever else, things like that. So like that all exists for a reason, because people don't want to spend like hundreds of dollars. But
I don't want to do it anymore.
like my ultimate solution would be like all these companies, like there needs to be like a storefront, right? That where where you used to be able to go and buy DVDs and Blu-rays, which was convenient, right? There needs to be a digital storefront where, like for a couple of dollars or whatever, or $10, whatever the price of these discs were, you download, like you buy a copy of the movie and it's just a DRM free download, and you choose, like you can download it in almost like Bandcamp if anybody uses that for music. Like if you buy an album, like it's like the money goes straight to the artist for that, but they have like a great service where if you buy it, you can stream it, or you can download it in MP3, WAV, FLAC, all these different
whatever
formats,
you need.
right? Yeah. So basically, like, if Star Wars, right, instead of going, oh no, if you want to watch Star Wars, you have to sign up to Disney Plus. It's like, no, you can just buy it here for $10. You can download a 4K version with HDR, non-HDR, or you can download a 1080p version with HDR and non-HDR.
They're
like
worried
like
about
lossless high
file
quality
sharing. Don't you think?
Well, that's always the argument, right? But I think that's a false like thing, because it's like, yeah, okay, but
it's already but it's out there now. Like you can find whatever movie that you want.
Yeah, that's right. Like you're not going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
The only way is to embrace it, right? Like they embraced streaming because they had no choice. Like if people are wanting to, or if downloads are now on the rise again because of streaming costs, then the way to address that is not to crack down on downloading, is to then offer that same service.
Yeah, or reduce your prices.
To be honest, like imagine there was like, all these movies that are like classic movies that are on DVD or Blu-ray that aren't on streaming services.
That's a part of the reason why I want to do it as well.
And then they disappear. Like June was on like Netflix, and then all of a sudden you go there and now it's not there anymore. It's like, what if you want to watch Dune? Like,
it's on Paramount now. You got to sign up to that. They get shopped now. The content is just being shopped around. It's being hoarded out to all of these different.
Yeah, it's easier to spend like $10 to buy like a classic 80s film that you love and have like a digital DRM free version, high quality version, than it is to try and find like somebody who's ripped it, or if there's any seeds, or like, for like, if you're a collector, like you want just easy access. And one of the reasons I set up the Plex thing is because I want to be able to scroll through my movie collection like you would a DVD collection sitting on a shelf.
Yeah.
Like, not only just to admire it, which is like a big part of it, right? Any collector loves, you want to show it off, right? And scrolling through it that's what you're doing. But then at the same time, if you're like, looking for something to watch, it's a great way to browse, as like with streaming services. So it's like the best of both worlds if you're a collector.
Yeah, I'll talk to you more about it, but I was just thinking, be a cool article for a guide if like I rip 750 Blu-rays because I'm sick of Netflix. Like, because I'm sick of Netflix's price hikes. Like that's the headline or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll talk about it more. But let's get into some gaming now. Right off the bat, you have got access to Black Myth Wukong.
Well,
what do we think so far?
Well, we can't talk about the actual game.
Oh.
But what we can talk about is that the developer surprise dropped Black Myth Wukong benchmark tool for PC. It's available on Steam. This was unexpected. So Black Myth Wukong got its final trailer recently as well, which I didn't link in the show notes, but I'll add it to the show notes. It's 4 minutes and it's incredible. It's one of the best looking games.
Put it up.
Yeah, it's one of the best looking games currently in development, and it's out like in a week. So next episode we'll talk about it in greater depth.
Okay.
But it's a game that has been partnered with NVIDIA for a while now, because it's been a showcase for RTX technologies like ray tracing, DLSS, and the release version is going to have DLSS 3.5, full ray tracing mode for lighting, shadows, indirect lighting, global illumination, all this sort of stuff. It just looks incredible. So basically they released just almost out of nowhere like a benchmark tool. And part of it is that they want to gather information, but you can opt into it, is then they want to see how it runs on all these systems, right? It's actually a very clever thing to do if you're a PC developer. Most PC developers should do this, like
100%.
A month before the game comes out, launch this benchmark tool and have an option for people to say, do you want to send your data? Like yes or no? And if you say no, fine. But if you say yes, like that basically it's just performance data will go to them. They can use that to optimize. They can see how fast it runs on all these systems.
100%, man. Like this is, I thought that when I saw that, I'm like, that's a fantastic idea, and it should be a common practice for any new game that is coming out. Like, and I'm talking like CD Projekt Red should 100% do this for when The Witcher 4 comes out after the absolute shit show that we saw with Cyberpunk 2077. Like if they did this for the Cyberpunk 2077 launch, I reckon, I don't know if you could probably do one for consoles as well. I don't think they have an excuse to do that for consoles because it's one spec and one config.
Yeah.
Like,
for consoles,
you
it
don't
doesn't
need to
make
do
sense.
that. You got no excuse if you're releasing a game like Cyberpunk 2077 and it's running poorly on consoles. The game is underbaked. It's undercooked. Put it back in the oven. But for PCs, where there's so many different pieces of hardware,
unforeseen things. Yeah,
I completely agree. For PC, this should be a common practice.
Yeah, and especially because Black Myth, look, what makes Black Myth like an interesting case is that it's not a AAA publisher. It's not like an EA game or a Ubisoft game, but it looks on par with like, you know, like a God of War in terms of like the visuals, right?
It looks stunning.
So the benchmark tool is a little bit weird in that it doesn't show combat, right? But it is kind of like a PC benchmark tool. Like it does a fly through of like a lush forest environment with like a lake, and you know you got like shadows and lighting and reflections, and you see some characters in the background, and then it flies through a temple and then overlooks like a cliff, and you see like this big temple, and it's kind of like a 2-minute or whatever it is, sort of like just fly through benchmark. What makes it cool is that it actually is super stable. Like the 1% lows are very, very high. So like it runs smooth. Like, and now this may not be the full game. Like there might be sections in the game that are completely different, right? Like, you know, when it's a high action or certain sections, but like, you know, this is indicative of a well optimized game. Because I tested on a 4090, but if you look at the notes on the actual Steam page for the benchmark tool, a lot of people on low end GeForce cards, like even like all Radeon cards, and even like Steam Deck are able to get it running. Like even like a 1660 GeForce GTX 1660, like 1080p, like medium or high settings, like running at like 80 plus FPS with, you know, it supports FSR as well as DLSS. So if you don't have access to DLSS, you can run FSR upscaling. So it is, or even FSR like frame generation, which is really good as well.
That's great.
So I basically tested in 4K maxed out. 4K maxed out cinematic mode in this game is just bananas. Like my only criticism is that I think it's overly sharp. Like there's like you know, sometimes when you turn the sharpness up like on something, it just starts to look a little bit too fuzzy or whatever.
Yeah,
and I think that's happening here.
Yep.
Like it's a little bit too sharp.
Yeah, grainy.
I think the reason why they did it is because of just the amount of geometry detail, like all the leaves and trees and stuff like that. Like it's insane the amount that's actually on screen at once.
What does it add to the overall aesthetic of the location and the setting of the game? Like, you know how like say Tarantino's films are quite grainy? You know what I mean by that?
It's probably
like,
a choice.
Is it a directorial choice?
Potentially, but I hope that they add a slider so then you can soften the image a bit. I think it just looks a bit too artificially sharp.
Yep. All right, I'm with you.
Which is the only criticism I can give because my partner walked in and she's like, "Oh, that looks real. Like, is that like real? Like, you know, like that looks basically real. Like, because you see like trees and like a river, and that was with ray tracing enabled. So that's like full reflections, like full resolution reflections. So ray tracing on the very high setting actually uses full resolution reflections, shadows, ray trace GI, ambient occlusion stuff, like indirect lighting. So it's actually quite good. But even without ray tracing, the game looks amazing because they've done it almost feels like they've baked all the lighting based on ray tracing anyway. So even if you switch it off, like the lighting that they're using is actually pretty impressive, but you can tell like the shadows aren't quite up there as ray tracing and the reflections. Like you can tell the difference. So basically, this at that performance level, you need DLSS and you need frame generation. So on a 4090 fully maxed out, I got an average of 98 FPS in 4K. That's fully maxed out, this is like, I would compare it to Cyberpunk's RT overdrive mode, which is like, basically unplayable on most PCs. But what makes it impressive is that with that 98 FPS, the 1% low or the minimum FPS is only 83. So like 83 to 98 is what you're looking at for like the frame rate in this benchmark tool, which is incredible because it means it's so stable.
Yeah.
And the frame times.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That it's always good to see when a game comes out that the minimum, when you're looking at the benchmark charts, the minimum and the average are really close together.
Yeah, because like when you see like minimum 51 and then average 130, you're like, okay, something there's like it's like there's instability happening somewhere, right? Where it's dropping, or there's either an issue with one section or quite enough, or it just wildly fluctuates. Yeah,
it's indicative of a poorly optimized game. So it's really good to see that the minimum and average are. That's what you wear for any listeners out there. If you're looking at benchmark charts of games and you're checking for stability of a title, that's how you do it.
Yeah, and so what is also impressive is that like if you turn off ray tracing, some people say ray tracing is just not worth it because of the performance hit. You turn off ray tracing and Black Myth Wukong and the cinematic quality, which is the highest max quality, still looks amazing, right? And so that 98 then becomes 121. So it's only like, so it's not a massive like performance drop when you turn on full ray tracing from 30%. No ray tracing. And that just means that the game is really well optimized too. I mean, there's always going to be a performance drop. And if you drop it to very high quality, which actually looks almost identical to cinematic, I think cinematic is one of those things where it just does things just for the sake of it. You know, like sometimes when the draw distance is just maxed out, or like the LOD for like shadow detail is just maxed out. And if you scale that back a little bit, which means like 99% of people won't notice, and you know,
but it might give you 10% more performance.
Exactly, and that's what it is. Like very high just seems like the sweet spot for the game. Like I would actually play in very high. Cinematic just seems that like it doesn't actually look any different to me.
Okay,
like at a glance. But you know, very high quality with full ray tracing is 112 FPS, so it's a decent jump. And then without ray tracing, it's 145 FPS on the 4090, and that's DLSS performance mode. Switching to DLSS quality, there's obviously a performance hit because that's rendering at a high resolution initially. I think performance is worth it, but quality mode you can definitely play with very high on the 4090 as well. But that's at 4K. The game runs exceptionally well in 1440p and 1080p, which isn't in my report, but you know, that's something that we will potentially be doing in the future.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're going to be doing a lot more of these kind of performance breakdowns in the future. But we'll save that conversation for another time because we'll definitely.
And this is an Unreal Engine 5 game too, because you know we've both heard that Unreal Engine 5 is notoriously sketchy for performance, like getting games to run fast anyway. Like that, the cost for games to look good is just super, super high for Unreal Engine 5, and there's also issues with stability and stuttering and things like that. And whereas
this is 5.4.
I think it's
that's the latest one. I'll just double check.
It may not be the latest one, depending on when they, you know.
Oh yeah, true.
When they locked down the game, you know, depending on when they locked it down for release, but. Yeah, so like the benchmark tool's available now, and you can download it and run it on your own system. Odds are you'll be able to find settings that run really fast and look really good. Cool.
I can't find anything quickly on it. But yeah, if you're planning on getting Black Myth Wukong, the benchmark tool is free, right?
Yes, it's free on Steam. And you know what else? Like within the first 24 hours of it being released, if you look at SteamDB for it, like it's actually hit over 80,000 concurrent players, quote unquote, which is massive for Steam. And this is for a benchmark tool that only takes a couple of minutes to run.
I think Rockstar needs to do this for Grand Theft Auto when they come to PC.
But that also shows you that there's a lot of people that are keen for this game. And I think
Yeah, well, I had looked at that figure. Like, there's a lot of people that don't mind downloading a benchmark tool to check if their game is going to work, like the game that they're excited for is going to work on their system. Like this game, I'm not want to say no one cares about it, but it just came, like you said at the start, this isn't from like a CD Projekt Red. This isn't from like a Rockstar. This is not an indie developer, but it is not a developer that everyone is familiar with. And game science, what else have they done?
They're a Chinese studio, and this is their first major release.
There we go. So, like, imagine if Ubisoft put out a thing before they released the new Assassin's Creed, or I think if a developer that was much more known did this, I reckon they would be shocked at the amount of people that are more than happy to download a tool to, one, help the game that they're excited for run better when it comes out, and to make sure that their system is capable of running it before they buy it. Before they buy it as well.
And get a good look at how it looks and increase the hype for it and the awareness for it. And then and the freebie is that the freebie for the developer is that they get to get a head start on optimizing the game for day one, or like a day one update, or a week one patch, or whatever the case is, because those happen guaranteed now. Like if you release a major game on PC, what do you think the odds, like, you know, it's almost like a sure bet that the game is going to be patched within the first week.
Oh, 100%. Like, I would be shocked if it wasn't.
If not, like, what's going on? Like,
yeah. Well, you're saying it runs really well? No. No, it can't be. It's on PC. It's a new release. It's a fresh AAA game. It can't be running well on PC.
Yeah.
Where's the update? Where's the update? We need bug fixes. We need performance optimizations. And I want an update that gives me 20% more performance just to week one. No, but in all seriousness though, if they did this, they wouldn't need to do those updates like that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be so critical anyway. So Black Myth Wukong is one of the best looking games, and it has been like, that's what, you know, a lot of PC gamers have been looking forward to, and PlayStation gamers as well, because it looks amazing, right? And based on the benchmark tool, it's going to be a stunner when it launches.
Cool.
But just out of nowhere this week, there was a new mod release.
I saw this
called Doom 2 Ray Traced. Now, id Software's Doom 2 from 1994 is a classic, right? Iconic FPS. Like, it helped make the first-person shooter genre popular, especially on PC. Like, it actually helped kickstart like a decade's worth of what PC gaming was going to look like. So there is there is more to this mod than just full ray tracing, right? So it uses GZ Doom. GZ Doom is an update to the original Doom that allows for modding, but it also like makes it compatible with modern systems. So you can customize the UI, customize the graphics renderer, but whilst retaining the original look of the game. So this mod includes an update that replaces the sprite-based or the 2D characters from the original Doom and replaces them with voxel characters. Now, voxels is basically a 3D version of pixel in a way. It basically makes the pixel characters look like full 3D objects, or like it looks very, very cool. And then on top of that, you've got a few other mods for the UI and stuff like that. But the real star of the show is it's full path traced lighting, with additional effects. And I was stunned with how good this looks, because back in the day when the NVIDIA launched the 20 series, they kind of launched Quake 2 RTX, if you remember that.
Yeah,
and
I remember
was like
that,
a game changer for Quake 2. This is more impressive than that. Way more impressive. This is more impressive than, it's just up there with like what they did with Portal RTX, I think, because it retains the look and feel of the original Doom.
It does, but it's still got like that lighting. I'm just watching him run through the corridors now. It's like, it's so, even with the flash with the gun on the wall, like
it changes the game, right? Like,
yeah.
Purists will say that it looks different, and like that's part of the point, right? This is it actually makes it more like Doom 3, which is like a horror game, like because of the lighting, like it adds a sense, it adds to the tension, by, you know, the darkness of it. So like you shoot and it lights up the corridors and stuff like that. It's incredible. Like like that when the enemies shoot like their light balls and light orbs. So there's 2 videos in the article that we posted, that I've posted. One of them has the original video has like this mod that changes like when the enemies die, like it shoots out all this like weird looking blood, like which looks fake. So the second video disables that, so it's just like the pixel blood from the original Doom 2, which looks more authentic. You can make adjustments to it, but it's so on the 4090 it runs at 120 to 150 plus FPS without frame generation. And that's DLSS quality mode in 4K. Now, obviously, this is a game from 1994, so it should run at 10,000 FPS, right?
It should,
but this is full. This is basically RTX remix level, and the modder who released it said that this version of Doom 2 can run with RTX remix if people want to use it to replace assets or remaster the game even further.
Awesome. No, that's so cool. I'll get Reese put both of these videos up on the screen for the people on YouTube, so they can see it. And if you're not on YouTube and you're listening on audio, go check out.
You have to check it out. Like, if you have an RTX card, and there's people that have let me know that they've run it on a 3070, and it runs perfectly fine, like super fast and smooth on a 3070 with the full ray tracing. So if you've got an RTX card, and you're a fan of classic Doom, and you own classic Doom on Steam, Bethesda recently updated the game. It works with that version. Basically, all you do is you download the mod, you extract it, and then you have to download some RTX pack, which has like DLSS files, all those DLL files that you copy paste. Once you do that, you basically just run it, and the mod just already automatically looks for the Steam install for the game.
Oh wow, that's great! You don't even have to drag and drop.
You don't have to do anything, and then it just loads it.
That's sick. It might be if you're a Doom fan of classic Doom, this is, and you're thinking about, maybe I want to go back to it, play it again. Get this mod, crank it in path tracing, and then play it again. It'll feel like a fresh game.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's so good. Like, it just hits on every level. Yeah.
No, it looks great. That is awesome, and I'm glad that it works with RTX Remix as well, because this is like, people are going to make this game look so good. It's going to be unbelievable how good they're going to make it.
Yeah, I love like the voxel characters as well. I love that this mod like just isn't just like a lighting change. Yeah. It retains the exact same textures, so the sky still looks like 16-bit graphics, which is fine because you want some of that retro feel there. But the fact that it chooses the right mods to enhance what it used to look, to make it more modern, like the 3D voxel, which is basically like the characters look so cool, being able to see them in 3D, because all the enemies still look like they're pixel based, but they're properly 3D.
Yeah, that blood looked really funny when you were shooting the guy. They just like erupt into like a ball of like pussy blood. It's gross.
Yeah. The second video is a bit more, I guess, the way you should play it. Yeah, disabling that I think looks better.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's enabled by default. Yeah.
Yep. In the description below, we'll have a link to the show notes, and in there you can find the Doom article and I'm guessing you've got the links to the downloads and stuff all in there as well, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So head to the show notes, find the Doom article, and all your download links will be in there. And enjoy slaying them demons. Let's move on to Intel. So are they still on fire? Is it a thermonuclear problem? Do I need to do push-ups? What do I need to do here, Kosta? Tell me.
Well, it's more of like an update, so I don't even know if I actually put the links in there. Did I? Yes, yeah. So
they got that microcode update out.
It's basically rolling out now at rapid pace. So Asus got in touch and said that the official updates are still happening, like they're happening right now as we speak. Yeah. But as soon as these the motherboard makers got hands on the microcode update from Intel, so Intel had to supply it to like all the motherboard makers to issue. So basically this microcode is the fix for Intel 13th and 14th gen CPUs to stop the voltage issues that are leading to hardware failure and degradation. So if your CPU is already damaged, this fix is not a miracle cure, because like apparently there's damage done to hardware,
it's
so
too late.
they need to be replaced. But this microcode fix and update prevents that from happening.
Yeah.
And so because that makes it a critical update. So it's good to see that MSI, ASRock, and ASUS have start rolling it out. Like ASUS went.
Gigabyte done theirs?
Yeah, Gigabyte as well. So like Asus went bananas. They issued like beta updates for over 200 motherboards.
Whoa.
Like, and that's before the like official rollout. Like as in like they, the beta updates are the ones that they just, the developers just put on like a server to say, hey, grab it here.
Yeah.
And before it gets officially vetted or released or whatever the case is.
It's like a benchmark tool before a game comes out.
Yeah. So that's rolled out now. So if you have an Intel motherboard and are using a 13th or 14th gen CPU, definitely go to your motherboard page and check the software and driver, whatever section, and most likely you'll see either an official driver release now or BIOS update, or a beta one, which is worth installing because it basically includes the microcode update that will fix the issue of your CPU dying prematurely.
Yes. I'll just read out the microcode. So I'm guessing this microcode will be available in all, like across the brands. Like it's not called. Yeah. So it is 0x129.
129. Microcode BIOS update. Yeah.
Yeah, that should be across all of your brands, no matter what kind of motherboard vendor you've decided to go with.
Yeah. So if it has it's for wherever the socket is, LG 1700 or whatever the socket, or 1600, 700, whatever it is for like the 13th and 14th gen, the socket should be updated. Yeah. And it's a critical update.
It is a critical update. Do we know if it reduces performance? Because we know that the problems were related to excessive voltage draws from the CPU, which was essentially frying these chips. The CPU was calling for way too much voltage, I'm guessing too consistently, and over time we have seen degradation, or it could have been doing it, I don't know, I'm not sure. Yeah, I haven't done the testing, but that's it. Yeah. I know it is excessive voltage was a problem, and this microcode update reduces voltage down to 1.5.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what the specifics are technically, but yeah, like it is like it is reducing it. But like Intel has said it's not going to reduce performance. As Asus said, for some motherboards, the actually update is going to improve performance because it's a BIOS update that's going to improve performance. So I don't think most people will see any difference. But the thing is that a lot of people that are like the hardcore enthusiasts that are changing like core timings and overclocking their CPUs, like specifically, this is like critical, and they may see some changes. They may need to make changes to their timings and voltage and things like that to be able to achieve whatever they were performance targets that they were achieving. But I think like this is one of those wait and see scenarios where we're going to have to wait to see what impact it has on performance overall, and whether or not like the peak performance of the 13th gen or 14th gen flagship CPUs are impacted. Like, is the 900Ks like peak performance now impacted by this update?
That is where my bet was going to be, is on the highest end chips of the 13th and 14th gen. I think we're going to see just a professional guess feeling based on how these kind of things go. It's definitely going to be below 5%, but I'm gonna say below 2%. I think there's going to be a performance hit, but I think it's going to be so small that people aren't even going to really care, besides the people that, like you said, are squeezing every single frame out of every watt that is running through their computer.
Yeah, like 5% can be like annoying to some people, but I think 5% is within the margin of error or within an acceptable I mean, to resolve like a critical, like an actual hardware fault.
What the problem is with this, it's not necessarily the update, like the 5%, it's, let's just say it's below 5%. That sucks. It's really bad. It's a massive, massive issue. The main problem is this update doesn't retroactively fix the people that have broken, degraded, unstable CPUs now because of like it doesn't fix them. So really what we should be talking about is how are they going to RMA all of these CPUs?
Well, they say that they're not going to because like they don't think that, well, based on what they're seeing, they don't see the failure rate as being any like a major difference compared to previous generations. And that's where it gets hotly contested because especially when it comes to internet reporting, there's a lot of anecdotal stuff, right? Like, like my CPU died, and my CPU, I bought 2, and I bought 10. Yeah. I bought 10 for my business, and 3 of them died within 3 months. So it's like that doesn't mean that there's a 30% failure rate.
No, but when enough anecdotal evidence stacks up.
Even then, it doesn't. It's not like 10 anecdotes that show the same thing isn't concrete proof of anything either. Like,
well, how many unstable CPUs do you think there are across 13th and 14th gen above a 65 watt TDP?
There are like some reports. Well, there was that other custom. Yeah, like I don't know, but I definitely think it's
hundreds of thousands.
I think it's high. Yeah, I think it's like you don't get to this level of controversy without it being a major issue.
Yeah, and if 5 people were like, "Oh, my CPU broke," like, then I'd be like, "Just please."
I think that Intel should not only offer like free replacements to anybody that wants to replace their CPU, right? Let's say just even if you don't think that it's degraded or whatever, like if you upgrade to the new BIOS, then if you want to replace your CPU at the same time, I think that should be an option for every customer. And I know that's costly, but I think that should be an option. And also I think there should be Intel coming out to say, hey, if you're a gamer, we've made a deal with this publisher that, you know, we'll replace your CPU if there's an issue, like if there's a fault, and to all our Intel customers, sign up here to get like a free game.
I think that is an amazing strategy to rebuild brand.
You have to.
What reliability? It'd be reliability,
trust
right?
in the brand, because that comes down to it, right? Like even like if there is an issue, right? Like that happens. It's how you respond to it and how 100%. You deal with the customers. That's the lasting impact, right? Like if like I've had like. You know, like in Australia, we have like really good consumer protection laws, right? Mm-hmm. But like, you know, I've had instances where like I bought something and it's like faulty, right? Or there's an issue with it, and I take it back to the store, and the store's like, "Oh, just grab another one off the shelf. Blah, blah, blah. It's fine, no problem." And you're like, "Okay, that's great for the store," and like you don't feel bad for the brand or whatever the case. Like, you know, because you're being treated well as a customer, and that's what you want. Like, if there is an issue, you want them to acknowledge it and to offer you the solution that is the least pain for you as the customer or the consumer, because you
want at the very least it to be a equal, like you feel you walk away from the situation feeling like, okay, that was a equal trade. Like, yes, there was a problem. I got something. It accommodated my time, etc., etc. But it's even better when you walk away with an equal trade plus a little bit more, because then you're like, wow, those guys really treated me well. Exactly. I'll actually go back to them, because it almost like it. When a brand recognizes that they've done something and it is terrible, and they fall on their sword, and then they repay plus more, it's almost humanizes it a little bit. That's like someone saying, like, because no one's perfect, I made a mistake, I'm very sorry, I acknowledge that, let's move on and go for it. It's like it adds depth to the relationship when you do that with a person. I think the same kind of thing happens with a brand. Like, I don't know, if you went, I think a perfect example would be if you went out for dinner, ordered a bunch of food, it's wrong. Like your meal is wrong. They come out, give you 2 free drinks. So sorry, sir. Here's a replacement. You're walking away from that restaurant now thinking, they're great. They really did treat me well there.
Yeah,
I'm going to go back there. I might even recommend
yeah.
other people to go there to eat, because I know I can reliably and confidently say that if you go here, you are going to get treated well.
And like and a hardware example just came to me. It's like the Xbox 360, which was Microsoft's most successful gaming console, right? The Red Ring of Death. The Red Ring of Death meant that every console that was produced for the first generation, or like, you know, because the console went through a few different redesigns, but like the first couple of revisions of the console for the first few years, like every single one would fail eventually.
Yeah.
Like I don't know anybody that didn't have one that failed. I had 2 that failed, right? And that's basically one got replaced, and then that one eventually got the Red Ring of Death. It's basically the Red Ring of Death, which means that your console...
And they knew when they were shipping them as well that they were going to do that.
Oh, well, I don't know if they knew initially that that's what was going to happen, but basically that almost every console was going to be... You know, but they
bled money doing it. So but they replaced them all.
They replaced every single one, and they bled money doing that. They said, like, if there is the Red Ring... they created a whole an RMA process that will for every country. I'm in Australia, like some suburb outside of Melbourne, and you go to the website, you build a thingo, and then you get like you print this out. Somebody come, or you print this out, you put it in the post box where you don't have to pay for postage, and then they send you the replacement at the same time. So you get your replacement within a day or 2 by the time that they get they don't even wait to receive the console to check to see if it's faulty, whatever the case is. They knew it was, that the hurt for the gamer was that, like, okay, if they're a gamer, right, and they're going to have to wait weeks without their console, they play Call of Duty or you're playing whatever game, like that's an inconvenience. Like you might seem like, oh, you can wait a week without playing games, but mate, if you're a gamer, like imagine like you play, it's a season, like now, like there's a game that you regularly play, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, now you're just not going to be able to play for a week or 2. You don't know how long because you don't have the hardware, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to be annoyed.
Yeah.
Whereas Microsoft 100%. Handled that perfectly. And so that's a great example. So like, you know, that's a failure where almost every console failed. I had 2 that red ringed. Everybody that I knew that had an Xbox 360 had the red ring of death. But that's still remembered as a great console because of how they handled that situation.
Yeah, it didn't stain the legacy of it.
How has Intel handled this situation? They were silent for months. They came out with half statements. They blamed vendors. They said, we're investigating. We don't have anything to say. We don't think it's this. We don't think it's that. That wasn't this. It was like cagey. And then Verge got in touch with them, and then they got definitive answers that were still kind of cagey the way that they were said. But that brought to light the scope and things like that. And then
just the weird announcements on like backwater forums of like, you know, just some Intel employee, some like everyday kind of bloke is just out there. Oh, write this on the forum, and then we're like, is this the official statement?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was like,
that's where you want to do it.
They were obfuscating, like they were trying to minimize awareness of it almost. It's like, well, we don't want to shine a light on this, but it's like, hold on, like if you got like the estimates, however many CPUs have failed, like you got to come out head first and say, this is what's happened, and we're gonna, like, it would have been like a non-issue if they just
lent into it and owned it.
Yeah, if they owned it, resolved it, and the focus was on supporting their customer base above all, then it would have been like a controversy still, yeah. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't be something that people would be like, oh, like, you know, I don't know about Intel.
Yeah, you can't trust them now because I don't know which way they're going to go. Speaking of CPUs and problems and...
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to get on to AMD?
Yeah, AMD. This is like a new vulnerability was found. It's called Sinkclose, where basically every Ryzen CPU from the first gen, I think,
very cool,
to the 7000 series has a critical basically like vulnerability where hackers can run malicious code directly via access to the processor via system management mode, which is kind of like the CrowdStrike thing, you know, kernel-based access to key CPU system things. So this doesn't matter what the fact that this code is now installed on Windows. You can clean the virus, whatever the case is. It doesn't really matter because the vulnerability isn't with Windows. It isn't with your operating system.
Just like Spectre.
It isn't with your storage. It isn't with the fact that it's installed on your hard drive. It's not like format your drive and you're fine. This is like a vulnerability in the CPU. But
this is like
the thing is
Spectre.
that,
Remember Meltdown?
Yep. That's right, Spectre. So this means like there's hundreds of millions of CPUs affected, including server-based ones. So it's like Ryzen and EPYC. But like the way that it works is that it actually is quite complicated because it requires, because of the system management mode stuff on the CPU side. It's like, dealing at a CPU at that level isn't as easy as, double clicking on an infected PDF or exe that just installs something in the back door of Windows to give access to your rig. It's like it's way more complicated to be able to get this code running on to access the vulnerability in the first place, which is a good thing. Which means that it doesn't mean that it's like a CrowdStrike sort of like issue where all of a sudden 100, untold numbers of PCs are going to crash or be hacked. So that's the plus side. But the downside is that we're looking at hundreds of millions of potential affected Ryzen CPUs. And AMD has, updated the security bulletin to list the vulnerability and all the affected CPUs, which is basically every Ryzen 1000, 2000, 3000, etc., up to 7000 CPU, Threadripper 1000, 2000, EPYC CPUs. And they're providing firmware updates for their CPUs for this, which will fix they're working on it, or I don't know if they've actually updated the security bulletin. Let me just have a look. It's SSM lock bypass. The way that they always talk about these things is it's just so technical that you never get a sense for how severe these things are, but the severity rating is high. So yes, it is.
So what is the just for the everyday user out there, what is the worst thing that could happen as a result of this vulnerability?
Well, full access to your PC to be able to run to ring zero access to modify the configuration of system management mode, even doesn't matter what's.
So that's kernel access. So you can monitor every single
basically your CPU is compromised.
Every single instruction that is passed, and we're talking like where you're moving your mouse to and click what you're clicking on.
Like this is basically being able to hack and take control of a CPU in a server or in a data center. Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty severe, right? So like it is. What's weird is that AMD said, we're going to be issuing these firmware updates, but Ryzen 1000, 2000, and 3000 CPUs are now so old that we don't update them anymore. We're not going to fix them or offer a fix, which I think is a little bit strange. Like I think you would. Doesn't matter how old it is. Like even if, let's say, the original Xbox or the PlayStation 3 or something like that had some sort of like critical, you could hack this or that. I still think or that affects every PC or every Windows down to like XP or whatever. Like there's something that's just absolutely disastrous. I think that you still, out of good faith, you should still like release an update for it.
Wait, so they're not releasing any update? It's just like, here it is.
Well, for the older ones, no. For like, say if you got a Ryzen 3000 series CPU, which you still have in one of your rigs, right?
No, 5600.
Okay, yeah. So if you had like a 3600, which is still used by a large number of gamers, like no, there's no fix for that because it's too old. Upgrade your CPU sort of situation. Where it's like we're no longer servicing that. So that's what I think is a little bit okay. Yeah, all right. Technically, because you're no longer supporting that, this falls outside of that. But this is, Sinkclose vulnerability is widely viewed as like a massive security flaw and affecting hundreds of millions of CPUs. I think, you might want to get on top of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't believe the CPU industry is just crumbling. This is not what I thought 2024 was going to be. So once the security update is rolled out, I'm guessing this is 100% airtight fix now. Like
that's the assumption, right? That's what we assume. Yeah. But I think it's like another one of those microcode thingos where it's like a CPU thing that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like it just feels that PC stability is getting less and less.
It does.
Stable.
It does. And Zen 5 was meant to be all about efficiency. It's like, yeah, they're super efficient, but there's also like back doors and stuff in them, which is pretty cool. It's like, well, anyone can hack in. I mean, they're super efficient chips, but anyone can hack in. Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Okay, welcome back. Sorry about that. We just needed to check something. Maybe we could throw the photo up, but like Discord is experiencing an issue right now where Kosta is completely changing color for me. We just needed to check if it was happening on either end of our OBS recordings, but it's not. It appears to just be a Discord problem. It's very funny. You're like a chameleon. You're like rainbowing.
Well, like one of those hologram cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
you look
Tarzo's.
like a rare. You look like a rare.
Yeah, very hologram card.
But that is very disappointing about Sinkclose. We'll keep our eyes and ears out for any updates regarding that. But let's move on to another story. Let's talk. Well, let's keep it on AMD. Let's talk the RDNA 4.
Yeah. So RDNA 4, like nothing concrete, but remember there was that report. I think we talked about last week that they were going to release a couple like entry level RDNA 3 GPUs. Like
yep.
You know, like that'll be like $150 US or $100 US, whatever it is, just to tap into the entry level market. Cards. Yeah. Well, apparently, there's now additional reporting saying that there aren't, like, speaking with AMD's partners, which includes like Sapphire and ASRock and even like ASUS and MSI and Power Color and all those companies making Radeon GPUs, that there's actually no confirmation that any of them are actually making those entry level cards. But what they are doing is that they've got confirmation that they're all basically just focused right now on making the RDNA 4 next gen GPUs, which means that that's been finalized. I assume now with AMD that RDNA 4 Radeon GPUs, or at least the launch models that it's going to launch with, are locked in. And there's also apparently AMD's holding a Gamescom event. Now, last year they had a Gamescom event where they announced the 7700 XT and the 7800 XT Radeon GPUs, their mid-range GPUs. Will they do the same this year? Maybe not, because we haven't heard specific rumors to that effect. But they're going to do something Radeon related.
FSR?
They may tease it. They may showcase. Last year they also announced FSR, the latest version of that. Yeah. So they may do like an FSR thing. They may do some game and specific partnership announcements. They may tease next gen RDNA 4 with the improvements to ray tracing that are coming, because it's like 2 to 3 times rumored improvements to ray tracing, which will bring them on par with NVIDIA. But I mean, hey, that's what we want to see regardless.
Absolutely. So you think they'll tease at Gamescom, hold out to CES, full announcement there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think that like it makes sense for them to like start building up hype now. Like, why not? Like, they're so far behind. You might as well go out, tease something. Like,
do something.
And if you're holding an event and not showcasing any new products or anything, like newsworthy or like anything that's going to get gamers excited, PC gamers excited, I don't see the reason why you would even hold like a
true
Gamescom event other than just to show face. And if that's what it is, that seems a little misguided.
Maybe they do the full unveiling of the new low-end cards.
Yeah, maybe, and then tease RDNA 4.
Yeah. Be like,
Like,
here's
and
our
say,
new,
like-
here's our new 1080, here's our 3 new 1080p 60 cards. They're coming in at this price. This is where the majority of gamers are still. I don't know. But here's also what we're working on. That's going to be coming out soon. Boom, RDNA teaser. RDNA 4 teaser.
Yeah, and show like some sort of like footage from a game that's like at the show, like running on RDNA 4.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like just show it, like tease performance. That's what you do. Like that's like, I mean, to be honest, like, you know, like how good has Cyberpunk been for GeForce?
Oh yeah, no.
Imagine Cyberpunk 2077 didn't exist. How would you think ray tracing or high-end PC gaming visuals would be? Like, you know, like there would have to be something else. Like
it's such a
that has been-
benchmark for it. It's like it's like taking the knees out from underneath.
But that's a game, right?
Yeah, that's
like,
a game.
It's just a game. Like the game is what games are what sell this stuff.
What do you think AMD? Like, okay, let's just go full imaginary. On stage at Gamescom, what game that is on the horizon they should use as a teaser for RDNA 4? What would you like to see? I'm gonna say mine first. Doom: The Dark Ages.
Yeah. Okay, that's better because I couldn't really think of. I was trying to think.
Doom: The Dark Ages. Show it to me in Vulkan, and show it to me in OpenGL as well.
Like just running with ray tracing on and off or whatever. Yeah. I think that's what you do because like Doom Eternal was another one that was like because it ran so well on GeForce GPUs. Yeah. It's like, whoa, look at this. Like for the 20 series and the 30 series, it's like, look how fast you can play Doom Eternal on the 30
and
series.
id Software will make any graphics card look good because it's so optimized. It's so optimized. Like, and I'm sure that the Doom: The Dark Ages is going to come out. It's going to be like butter as well. It's going to be, it's got to be.
And like, this is not like unusual, right? Like, you know, NVIDIA and AMD work closely with game developers.
Yeah.
Right? They either provide at a bare minimum technical support, right? But then they provide them, you know, development tools and whatever help to integrate technologies like DLSS or ray tracing. You know, they even go so far as to do marketing deals with them to be like, hey, we want to be partnered with you, so we'll we'll showcase your game, we'll provide you.
Here's a better one.
Money, whatever it is, like, you know.
New Call of Duty, Black Ops 6. AMD shows Black Ops 6 running on the new RDNA 4 GPU, and it's got wicked frames, and it looks awesome.
That's a good tease, right? Like
that's better.
That's probably better. What they would do. Like, I didn't know what the tease would be exactly, but I think that's how you do it. Like, you just show the game, like a game, like one of those big releases like Call of Duty or Doom: The Dark Ages, or and it makes sense for them to partner with like an Xbox studio because the AMD hardware is inside the Xbox.
Exactly. Yeah.
And or even like a PlayStation game like God of War, Ragnarok, or whatever like could be on the horizon. PlayStation wise, you know, Last of Us Part 2. You know, like running or whatever the case is, you know, like a PC ports for like something like that.
Yeah. Yep. That's also, now I'm excited. I want to see it. I want an RDNA 4 teaser. I want Radeon to get back into the game. They're falling behind here, and I need the competition because I want the prices lower and I want more frames and more performance. That's
where they are, to me, basically the only game in town is when it comes to portable PCs, mini PCs and portable gaming handhelds. And which is the next
they're killing it
RDNA story, the Radeon 890M, which is the new RDNA 3.5 integrated GPU in the flagship Ryzen AI chips CPUs that were announced at Computex. And so this Radeon RDNA 3.5 GPU is basically just like an in-between. It uses some of the new technology that's going to be in RDNA 4, as well as it's got the Zen 5 cores from Zen 5. So it's almost like just an incremental upgrade or update. But the 890M integrated GPU found in the flagship Ryzen AI 9 HX370 mobile chip, which is going to be in laptops, but also it's going to end up in portable gaming PC handhelds. It's going to end up in mini PCs that you can connect to a monitor or connect to your TV. Basically, what I do is I have a mini PC next to my TV that I can play games on and retro games, and you can even play modern games on it. And it's just a tiny little box that just
you're just hitting a performance target. You just need 1080p 60. You don't care. You don't care how it does.
Yeah. So the 890M in this thing is now faster than a GeForce GTX 1650 desktop gaming GPU, which is okay. A 2019 gaming GPU, but in 2019 that was like a very, very good 1080p gaming GPU. So this integrated graphics is now on par with
Wait, you
desktop
said
gaming.
980?
No, 1650.
Oh, 16. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Desktop gaming GPU.
Well, what's crazy, you think about the footprint of the 1650 and then think about the
that's right,
footprint of the integrated graphics.
This is comparing a desktop with that card, a desktop GPU to like a little...
Tiny little thing.
A chip that you can't see. So what is like, basically you can run everything from Cyberpunk to God of War, the original Hellblade, Forza Horizon 5, the Tomb Raider games, the new First Descendant game, older titles like Devil May Cry 5, all at 1080p, all at decent performance. So this is really cool for if you got like a, if you're thinking of like the Steam Deck world or like the Steam Deck has integrated AMD hardware or like the ROG Ally. If there's like a next gen ROG Ally, it may not be this chip, but it could be like the successor to this. It just shows that like portable gaming, even like ultra thin laptops, like those super thin laptops, will be able to run games because it's got this integrated chip. Like I love this sort of tech because especially for like portable handhelds, it just means that also as well they can emulate everything up to like a PS3, GameCube, or even like PS4 games, and you can run any sort of like PC game up to like 2020 at like really high quality. But if it's a modern game, you may need to tweak some performance settings. But it just means that you've just got like a PlayStation 4
essentially
console, like in like that level of performance in like a,
it's like hello,
like an SD card.
Yeah, essentially like it. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
I think it's cool, and I think it's a market that Nvidia needs to seriously get into.
Well, they'll do it with ARM chips, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they'll do it.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to emulate everything.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. Like,
it's going to be weird
because when it comes to like laptop GPUs, they're killing it with like the 4060 laptop GPUs, really powerful, and this is not going to be as powerful as that because that's still a discrete GPU, but for a laptop.
Yeah,
but this is like if you're looking like this is the sort of chip that you would find in a smartphone, so to speak, or a tablet. Which is why, like, if you're looking at a Nintendo Switch, like the Steam Deck, you're looking at those sort of handhelds, you want to get them like small and thin and low power, and you don't want to, you have to, and that's what low power gaming is now hit that sort of like PS4 levels,
which is great because that's essentially 1080p 60. Yeah, which is
exactly
like the bare minimum, I reckon.
Which is like perfectly fine for a handheld. Like you see like that level of performance on a handheld and you can't help but be blown away.
Yeah.
Because you're like, wait, hold on a second, it's doing this.
Let's talk Black Ops 6 again. I want to talk about the leak.
All right, yeah.
Did you see this?
I saw the story, but I didn't see the leaked footage.
Well, I'm sure it's still kicking around. It's not like when a leak like this happens and a bunch of videos are uploaded to social, it's on the internet in some form permanently.
DMC takedown requests.
Yeah, I think the most that they can do is just keep launching wave after wave of DMCA takedowns. But then again, I reckon there is probably fresh videos. But here's what happened. So, Black Ops 6 is on the horizon. Everyone is very excited for that because it's a new movement system. Apparently the gunplay looks really good. I mean, I'm not a COD player, but this one does look slightly different.
It's also coming to Game Pass, so like I've got Game Pass, so I'll check it out.
Yeah, I'll definitely. Yeah, I've got Game Pass as well. I'm going to download it. I'll probably end up benchmarking it for a little bit. But it leaked. Like, and it didn't leak in a way where it's like, oh, here's a few screenshots. It was full videos. And funnily enough, PS4s, jailbroken PS4s were responsible for this, which
the
is
game is getting
so
a
funny.
gen version, yeah.
So here's how it happened. An anonymous user with a jailbroken PS4 accessed the beta of Black Ops 6 that was uploaded to COD HQ, which is the launcher of the last 3 COD games. So he accessed the multiplayer and just revealed all, like, there was gameplay videos, there was emotes, there was like creating a class, play, like in-game stuff, like players using other players as human shields, weapons, the new omnidirectional movement system, the entire achievement list, the zombies mode, the maps, everything. Because some guy with a jailbroken PS4 was like, oh, I'm going to check out like what files are in the Call of Duty launcher. Then he just sees Black Ops 6 multiplayer and he's like, all right, I'll give that a go. Just whacks that in. But yeah, so all of that was leaked, and I'm sure you can find it if you're interested, or if you don't want it spoiled, don't go on social media or of any of the Call of Duty subreddits or communities, because I'm sure the footage is kicking around in some form. So
and the thing is that version is like the PS4 version, because like there's still like a huge market with previous, like, because Call of Duty is like one of those you know, it's like the biggest gaming franchise, and the reason why is that you just got to hit, like, if they said we're not going to do a PS4 version, then they know obviously that they've still probably got like a few million players annually on PS4 that buy the game for PS4.
Yeah, they
aren't worried about, like, they're not that interested in a PS5 if all they play is Call of Duty, and it's still fine. Yeah, so there's still that version. So it's not the most, I guess, visually, it's not the version that they would show in trailers, right?
Oh, definitely not.
So having all that footage leak is just immediately going to get people saying, oh, it just looks like old Call of Duty, because it's the PS4 version.
Yeah, a lot of the posts in my one of the posts, maybe two of them have been removed. This media has been disabled in response to a report by the copyright owner. So there's still a video.
That's what they have to do. It's like act like they're just like swatting all the.
Essentially, yeah.
Whack-a-mole, essentially. I guess. The new video pops up, whack.
Yeah, it's whack-a-mole at the moment. Activision is playing whack-a-mole with all the social media platforms. But yeah, that's just a bit of a PSA for any Call of Duty fans out there. If you want, you can go see Black Ops 6 gameplay. If you don't want to see it and you're buying the game anyway, don't go into any Call of Duty community because that's all everyone is posting about. Let's move on to, where would you like to hop to now, my friend?
We'll do some Nintendo Switch 2 stuff.
Yes.
Now we love the Switch 2.
We love it.
But we just want the Switch 2.
Yeah, it's true. We don't know if we love it yet. I will love it, let's be honest.
But it is kind of like bad news. Like, remember our predictions, and we're like, yes, it's going to be showcased early next year, release in March, April. So apparently there's new reports indicating that Nintendo have communicated to developers, game developers, their plans for when they're going to announce the Switch 2. And they're not going to announce the Switch 2 until the next financial year. And Nintendo's next financial year, this is Nintendo US, ends in like April 2025. So they're not going to announce the Switch until like May, probably like May or June 2025 mid next year, announce the console.
Wow.
Which means they're probably not going to release it until late next year. And then there's people speculating now that it's got a holiday 2025 is when they're targeting a launch, which is like end of next year.
Makes sense, but damn.
It's annoying. Like, I was banking on the Switch 2 like dropping or launching in like the first half of next year.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for as well. Particularly March, like the end of Q1.
Yeah.
Right at the end of Q1.
Now, like, but we're not even gonna. They're not even gonna formally announce it until like mid next year now.
How old will the console be by the end of it's? I might be dead by then.
Like it's like the original Switch is just going to be like, but the sales are like declining now for the Switch. So it's like its push has come to shove, right? Like they can't. It's not even like the huge success of the original Switch means that they can just keep pushing back the successor. Now it's gotten to the point where Switch 2 sales are dwindling. Well, I mean not dwindling, but
the
they are.
Switch sales are dwindling, not
the original Switch. Sorry, yes, yeah. So like it's hit its peak.
Oh, like, absolutely. It feels like the Switch feels like a toothpaste tube. And Nintendo are just ramming their, like, they've got a ruler and they're just squeezing out every little bit of
And they've managed
toothpaste.
to get quite a few, like, just when you thought there can't be any left.
Yeah, they've always managed to get a little bit more toothpaste out of it. And, like, now they're picking up the toothpaste thing, and when they turn it on their side, so it's, like, parallel with you, it's just paper thin. It's just, like... Yeah. There's nothing left in it, and I can't believe they're like, no. Actually, I reckon we got another year. I reckon we got another year. I reckon we can go to Christmas because I can still see some toothpaste in that thing. And everyone's like, it's empty. Move on,
dude.
Move on. Get a new tube.
We want it.
Yeah. I need another Colgate.
I mean, we know what's coming. It's just like, I mean, how long realistically do they expect people to wait? And to be honest, like. If they wait too long, it's just going to be old by the time it comes out, right?
They'll be like, what's the Nintendo?
Because we already know it's like
Switch.
Like the hardware was locked in for the successor like 3 years ago or whatever it was. Like it's already like, I mean, consoles are never always on the cutting edge, but Nintendo being Nintendo means that it's going to be cost effective. So like, releasing it now versus a year from now could affect people's impression for how quote unquote cutting edge or how much of a visual improvement it is or how much of an improvement it presents over the original.
Maybe they just don't have the games. Maybe if they push back to the holiday season of 2025, we are going to get Super Mario Odyssey 2. We're going to get, what is it? Mario Kart, is it 9? 9?
Yeah, Metroid Prime 4.
Metroid Prime. We probably won't have a new Zelda, right?
Or tease a new Zelda, have enough to be able to show a new Zelda for they can have, or be able to hit a cadence of having a new Zelda then 6 months later. You know what I mean? Like there is like, it's not just what games you have ready for launch. It's like how you, the cadence to keep that hype going. And if within the first year if they're basing their launch date on having all those, a number of their key franchises, not all of them, but hit all of. Yeah, a number of them within that first 12 months based on if we launch on this date, then like that makes sense then.
I would be okay with that if we got a new Super Mario Odyssey. Because I was, this is how I kind of thought about it in my head before this story. Was if it came out, if it launched in March, like let's say the end of Q1, which is March next year, I was expecting the kind of launch of the same kind of launch of the Switch where we'll get like Breath of the Wild 2 but a Switch 2 version. Then we'll maybe get it comes out with Mario Kart 9 or and a couple of other not as popular Nintendo games as well, but we'll probably get like 2 system seller titles and then a collection of other games that come with it. If now with this story in mind, if they wait to the end of the year, now I want 3 first party titles to come with this thing. I don't want it to be, here's Super Mario Odyssey 2 and here's the new console. It's like, bro, you've had how many years? How many years? You're going to give me 1 game to play on this thing at Christmas as well? Like, I don't know. Don't you think, don't you expect a little bit more in terms of the announcements for if it's at the holiday season? Or is that just because we're following the story and we're just like, come on, it's around the corner. It's around the corner. And then they're like, nah, it's actually, years away. And it's... Yeah.
But there's been so many, there's obviously leaks and insider, like people have been talking about it for so long that it's like, it's all done. It's ready to go.
Nintendo said in their financial report that they're waiting for software to push the next generation console. So to me, that means that they won't have as many games as they would like for a March release, because I'm sure they want to release this console. Like, it's not like they're like, it's kind of like the toothpaste thing. The Nintendo Switch is done. It's finished. We're not going to get more sales out of this thing. It's going to just trickle, you know, like a drop here and there in terms of their financial report. I'm sure they want to put out another console.
Yeah.
But maybe the games aren't ready for March. Maybe they will be ready guaranteed ready by
like September, October, whatever it is.
Yeah. And we'll have the super, because I reckon Odyssey 2, that's got to come out.
Yeah. It has to be a new, like
they have to have Mario sell the new console, man. Come on.
Yeah.
New Pokemon.
So yeah. Metroid Prime 4. Then also you do, like, maybe there's a Smash Brothers happening as well.
Yeah, I just want, like, if we're going to wait till the holiday season, I need at least 3 big titles. Give me 3. If you did it in March, I'm okay with 2. That's fine. That's all right. I need a couple. I don't want to be able to go out, get the new Switch and have 1 game to play, dude. Like, what do you mean? Yeah. That's going to suck. I need 3. Give me 3.
Yeah, so maybe it's actually been a delay because previous reports did say, like, Q1 2025, so like January, February, March next year was going to be the announcement and launch, something like that. Then we kind of predicted that maybe they'll announce it, you know, at the end of this year, because then you can build up some hype over the holiday period. Let people know it's coming in whatever, February, March, or whatever the case is. So like potentially this could be exactly what you're saying. Like, and obviously they've communicated as well, games aren't ready, or they've just taken a look at it and said, and have put the foot down and said, okay, we're now targeting this window.
It's got to be the games. You can't tell me the hardware's not ready. It's been so long. You can't tell me that the hardware's not ready. It's they've had the design nailed down for ages. We even did that story, I think it was last week or the week before, where we were talking about how Nintendo was saying in their earnings call that they have a plan to stop the reselling of their next generation console. Do you remember that? So, and they were like I'm pretty sure in the story, they're like sitting on stockpiles of this console. Like they will have so much of the console ready. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Also,
so the hardware is ready.
Yeah. I think that they've got a lot of that sorted. Yeah.
I would say that's my professional guess. I reckon we're just waiting on games and they're just getting their ducks in a row before, like you said, they want to get that cadence, hit that cadence. So the Nintendo Switch 2 is essentially a snowball rolling down a hill, picking up every new game release that comes out. It just gets bigger and more popular and more popular. And now, you know, you've got another 100 million unit console like the original Nintendo Switch. So
I think it's going to be a huge success.
I mean,
Nintendo has this sort of weird cadence where, you know, like the Super Nintendo was a success, the N64 not so quite, the GameCube was widely viewed as a better console, and then the Wii was this massive hit, but then the Wii U wasn't a success, and then the Switch brought it back, and so it's kind of like a back and forth. But I think they've hindsight. I think the Switch 2 will be different because I think it's a straight up successor, but I think because they're finally, I mean, the expectation and rumors that they're going to embrace backwards compatibility. So then, you know, it'll play every Switch game. It's like a different Nintendo, so to speak. They're not going to hit the reset button on, you know, have to redo another eShop, have to redo another virtual resell you the same. Hey, now you can play the original Super Mario Brothers from the NES on this. It's like, yeah, you've added these to every console for the last decade in this drip feed fashion. So like, you know, that all that virtual console stuff will carry across.
100%.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like, it's like a much needed, it's like, imagine like Apple haven't released a new iPhone for a decade.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what it feels like.
Yeah, it does.
Like when it's going to be a new shiny version of that thing you love.
Yeah, and you know what I want them to do with the Nintendo Switch 2? Revise the eShop.
Oh, it just needs to run on faster hardware, right? Because it's the slowest, clunkiest app that has ever existed. Do something.
They need to do something here. Revise Nintendo Switch Online. Why are we living in the dark ages? With Nintendo's online experience is Like it's mustardy, it's gross. It makes me feel sick. The way that you connect. I don't want to get into it. I want to talk anyway. It's just disgusting. It's so far behind. I mean, it is 10 years old. Like you said, the console is almost 10 years old, but like it feels like dial up their online experience. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, it's not an online experience comparable with other services or other
consoles for that matter. But let's keep it on Nintendo. Let's talk the Dolphin.
Oh yes, this is a blast from the past.
You're gonna get a nosebleed from this one. So let's I'll just outline it a little bit, and then you can get your how you are familiar with this very rare Nintendo console. So when developers are working or companies are working on these consoles, they are commonly codenamed. I think the Series X was Scarlet.
I think it was Scarlet.
And then
the One X was Scorpio. But because Microsoft announced their project names, though, they made it like Project Scarlet. They made people know that that's what it's called. Yeah.
I'm just saying that like it is. Yeah. Companies do have code names for all of these consoles and pieces of hardware and stuff like that. So it's not just Nintendo that do this. But just like other consoles out on the market and other pieces of hardware, Nintendo also codenames its prototypes. And one of them was called the Nintendo Dolphin. Little bit of it's not a good name.
Project Dolphin.
It's not a strong name, is it really? It's Dolphin.
I mean, it's
sophisticated.
Animal. It's a smart fish.
Yeah, it's sophisticated. Okay, so console variations. The Twitter account posted a photo of the Nintendo Dolphin console, and it is a rare GameCube prototype. The Twitter account wrote, "This GameCube is so rare that we're not allowed to upload it onto the internet until now. More pictures will be uploaded soon." And the console, it's not a fantastic photo, but it's probably the most highest definition photo of the Nintendo Dolphin ever.
Or the existence, yeah. So, okay, so like the N64 and the original PlayStation were both kind of there at the very beginning of the internet, right? So not that these consoles weren't online, right? But this is like the internet where you would dial up and you would go to like whatever news site or fan site. People were like talking about games or things like that. And by the time those consoles were reaching their end cycle, like in like the 98, 99 era, broadband was on the rise, and internet was basically exploding with like, that's where you went to find out stuff and hang out with like-minded people, and you could get anything and everything. And it was widely known that Nintendo's next console was had the codename Project Dolphin. And this is how I cut my teeth, like writing. I started writing for Nintendo fan sites talking about Project Dolphin. And it was so like cool. The Dolphin, this or that. And and it was Dolphin for a while until they announced the name Nintendo GameCube. And it was like one of those things where you transition where it's like, oh, GameCube, that's strange, because you've been calling it Dolphin for so long, you got used to it. But I didn't know that they actually had a prototype that looked like the Dolphin, that actually said Nintendo Dolphin on it, had like the logo, so like the GameCube and the N64 era. That's like almost like the Nintendo 64 era, where like it was like a 3D N with like the blue, green, and yellow, sort of like. So it has like a logo on there that's like a cube. So like Nintendo Dolphin, and the console looks like what ends up being the GameCube. I would love to see like this actual prototype, like a video of it.
Yeah, I would love to see
like
that
a full like a full presentation of it. Like potentially maybe even like running some of the prototypes that Nintendo. I mean, if it's a prototype, it was running some sort of game.
Yeah, true.
When Nintendo unveiled Project Dolphin, like it wasn't given a name. They showed like this demo of like Mario 64. It was like 128 Marios from Mario 64 all running around on like this big 3D dish and like in super smooth, like fully animated. You're like, wow, that was cool. they showed like a 2-second Zelda. It was called like the real Zelda, where 2000 era realistic graphics of like Link fighting like a couple of characters. Looked for the time, it looked really cool. They showed like some Pokemon stuff. They showed like Samus from Metroid. Like they showed like these tech demos of like what their next console was going to look like. They didn't. This was before it was GameCube. Like I was a Nintendo fanboy. This is how I know all this stuff. And and like I'm guessing like some of those prototypes were probably running on this sort of thing. So like it'd be cool like if there's actual discs that run on it that actually showed like tech demos or like early versions of Mario and Zelda or Metroid and stuff like that.
I just want videos. I want to see the inside of it. I want to see the outside. I want to almost want to tear down, but I reckon there's probably 5 of them, so probably don't do that. Someone will probably find one.
This would be super rare. Like this would be like if this went up for auction, it would sell for quite a bit.
I would say over 100,000 US. Probably.
Easy. Like probably more. Like
because these would be developers.
Be surprised. Yeah. I mean, this would be like from Nintendo. This would be very few of these out.
Wow. Very cool. Let's wrap up this show with a little bit of science news. We'll sprinkle some hope into your lives with a possibility that Mars may have life. So let's hope that we're not the only ones in the universe, and it would be cool if our neighboring planet also was hosting life. So let's see how they found this out. They believe NASA's InSight lander, it was a lander that sat on the surface of the red planet. It's now retired. Yeah, it's decommissioned. And it measured all the geological activity throughout its operational period. So we're talking like seismic activity, the temperatures under the ground, etc., etc. Researchers aggregated that data and looked through the seismic data to see if they could find any traces of what would be underwater reservoirs, which would presumably be full of water, because we know that there is a lot of water on the red planet, but it is all frozen, which is not useful to us. But if it melts, then we potentially have water sources, and those water sources can be converted into rocket fuel, and now we can blast off of the red planet and do return journeys, because
energy,
at the start
et cetera.
it will be just one-way trips, which is bit rough on the old advertising.
One-way ticket to Mars.
So using InSight's seismometer data, which measured the geological activity, researchers discovered large reservoirs of liquid water beneath the surface of Mars, and we're talking 7 to 13 miles beneath the surface of Mars. So these are not accessible. I was about to say you could just
like tap into because like waterbeds like this. This is all over Earth, right? So like in a lot of places, like the way that's what like back in the day was like you have to do a well or whatever it is. Like, there's a water table, if there's a river, there's that water doesn't stop at the river. Like you can tap into it. Like there's water, there's a reservoir underneath the Earth. Yeah. So like that basically means that like as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, so you could go on Mars and then just dig a well.
7 miles down. It is beneath the surface. It is within the mid-crust region, which is, I'm pretty sure, right. So you got like the mantle. It is right below where it's possible for us to dig through. So you can only dig through so many layers of a planet. So this is what they said. One of the researchers, understanding the Martian water cycle is critical for understanding the evolution of climate, surface, and interior. A useful starting point is to identify where water is and how much is there. Now, how does this link back into life potentially being on Mars? Well, reservoirs such as these exist on Earth, and they contain microbes. So like if you go to the bottom of the ocean, there is like next to volcanic vents and stuff of these, we have life. This is where they believe life originally formed, multicellular life, or like the tiniest forms of life next to these volcanic fissures at the bottom of the ocean. We have these. We have the same reservoirs, the same build, the same skeleton as Mars. And we believe that there is liquid water on the red planet's version of those. So comparing the two, it's like, well, there's life on Earth. There might be life down there. Here is what Michael Magna of the University of California, Berkeley said. Establishing that there is a big reservoir of liquid water provides some window into what the climate was like or could be like. And water is necessary for life as we know it. I don't see why the underground reservoir is not a habitable environment. It's certainly true on Earth. Deep, deep mines host life. The bottom of the ocean hosts life. We haven't found any evidence for life on Mars, but at least we have identified a place that should be, in principle, able to sustain life. So that is a little bit of glimmer of hope that the red planet isn't a barren wasteland. Maybe it is on its surface, but that doesn't mean that life can't exist below the surface.
All this sort of stuff always reminds me of Total Recall.
Yeah, you do bring up Total Recall a lot when I'm talking to the science stuff. You're like, this is
I don't know, like, I mean, because it was a formative experience. Like, I can't believe, I think I went to see that at the cinemas when I was like 9 or, and there was like two versions. There was like an M-rated version and an R-rated version. I remember that. And like, I remember like renting it on VHS as well. Like, they were like, you'd rent the M-rated version because the R-rated version, there was like an R-rated version because it's a Verhoeven movie. It's like one of the greatest action or like directors from that era. Starship Troopers, Total Recall, RoboCop.
Yeah.
Where his idea of a director's cut is just basically scenes or like a few seconds of gore that were just cut to a certain rating.
Yeah, it's the movie that he actually intended to make.
Yeah, and so because of like and I watched as a kid, it's like, so whenever there's like Mars and life on Mars and water on Mars, it's like, hey,
this is totally
how can that not be my reference point?
No, but I thought that was a pretty cool story.
That's cool. It's just a shame that it's so deep down that they can't just like tap into it, like if they're going to set up a base, like to be able to like just drill down, and then just pump water in.
That would be nice.
And then the alien microbes will then turn people crazy.
And then we jump into Ridley Scott's
get a horror movie on Mars.
Yeah, then we jump into Alien.
Yeah. It was some other movie that I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, another movie. Well, that is about it for this week's episode. Thank you very much for listening. If you are listening on audio, go check out the YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go subscribe to us on audio so you can listen while you're doing your walks, or driving, or whatever else. We'll be back next week with a lot of Gamescom coverage. We'll be should the episode be out by then? When does it start?
Yeah. I think I think the 20th is most of the embargo stuff. I think it's like this weekend, maybe even.
Okay, cool. I think so we'll have 20th, at least some announcements to go 22.
through. I've seen embargoes of like before we launch the episode. So there's embargoes of about like 20, 21, 22nd or something like that.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome.
So we're cool.
Yep. So we'll be good. We'll be good for the Friday posting. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. We will see you next week.
All right. Bye.